Welcome back to another tropical outlook and discussion. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at our fifth potential name storm and could be our second major hurricane. Yes, you guys heard me. Our second major hurricane is very possible. I know I haven't streamed or updated anything lately, but I've been a bit busy with personal life. But I am here to give you guys an update on now potential tropical 5 Cyclone 5, my bad, forecast discussion. So we're going to read it from the National Hurricane Center. This has been a major development in the tropics lately. National Hurricane Center has really been bringing up the chances. Sorry if my mic was just sounding like it was a little off. I just fixed it. But regardless of that, let's read this. National Hurricane Center been monitoring that a broad area of low pressure associated with a tropical wave over the tropical Atlantic during the past several days. Satellite imageries and earlier ASCAT data indicate that the low has a broad circulation, so it's not congeal, it's not just focus in one center. It's a little bit broad, but I do think that will continue to tighten. It has been strengthening pretty well lately, but we're just going to have to see. But there is no evidence of a well-defined center yet, they quote. The associated showers and thunderstorm activity showing some signs of organizing. It's been the last few days, but visible satellite imagery suggests dry air is entering into the circulation. However, since the disturbance is forecasted to become a tropical storm in the next day or so, and there's a risk of tropical storm force winds across portions of the Leeward Islands during the time advisories are being initialized on potential tropical cyclone 5. The NOAA Air Force Hunter or Hurricane Hunters will be investigating the system on Monday. So tomorrow they are going to be investigating this. So we're going to have a lot more data into the models. A lot of this other stuff is kind of, it's just too much to read, but we're going to have to see. But they do say in the next about 24 hours, this does become tropical cyclone, tropical storm, and Ernesto. And then it quickly strengthens into a 50, 65, and then a hurricane. And then it even strengthens even faster from in 72 hours into 4 days, 3 to 4 days. It's now 100 miles an hour category 2. And at 120, they do have it as 110 miles an hour. Just 1 mile away from becoming a category 3. All models does support a cat 3 or higher in the long run. Initial details going further where could this impact Bermuda, could this impact the U.S. It's still a bit uncertain, but we have a lot more packed down. If I made a video yesterday or the other day, we'll have a little bit more uncertainty, but with me making a video when this is a potential tropical cyclone, I will have a lot more information than I would have had a few days ago. So let's just quick look at the waters. Once again, the waters are very warm, and there are some probabilities that could happen in this storm. So let me tell you guys. So there's a potential that this storm could go scrape the northern islands here. Follow my pen. Scrape the northern islands and kind of do something like that. Alright. But then there's another option, and I'm about to be showing you guys a little trend I'm watching with the models. Kind of trending back to what it first thought. And one thing I will say, from the first thoughts with these models this year, would go away from the first thought and then come back to the first thought and actually be right. That was just like that with Beryl. Not Beryl, I mean Debbie. Debbie was, chances of it going into the Gulf was very high. And then it gone away, went to the east coast of Florida. Expected to now make a landfall or go up the east coast for minutes. That a total shot. But then the GFS trended back to the Gulf. And then all the other models trended. So GFS does win that battle. And I will say GFS has done a pretty good job this year so far with little trends and little movement. And I'm noticing on the latest GFS, it's trending a little bit more back on the last few runs. So we're going to have to see. And in the year 18Z run, I'm going to be showing you guys trended right back and showing more of a solution like this that goes a little bit more south here and kind of goes like this. Alright. This is another solution here. But these little trends we're going to have to watch in 0Z tomorrow because we could really see this storm try and go a bit more further. Let's say maybe closer to the Bahamas. That, you guys, I will say Bahamas, you guys are not out of the realm of possibility. Not even the Outer Banks. I will say Outer Banks, you guys have the most unlikely. But I don't, we're just going to have to see. And why it will be showing that, I'm going to be explaining that. But I will say, there is some pretty good waters near the Leeward Islands in Puerto Rico and even north in good OHC. So the conditions for waters are very favorable wise for temperature. All right. But let's just quickly look at the latest ace. Latest ace, I think it's at like 40.2, or yeah, it's actually 40.7. So Debbie did add on a bit more ace, and we are still above average. And I do think Ernesto is really gonna raise that ace quite a bit, you guys. I will say, um, actually a lot. Honestly, I think it will. It will raise it probably close to 60. Ace, and we might really see that deep incline. We're gonna have to see with any other tropical waves. But one thing I'm gonna like to take a look that I did not brought up is the wind shear map. So sorry if I'm doing this kind of on the fly, but just give me a second here. Right here. Let's get the shear map right here. Sorry about it loading a little bit. I haven't used the computer in a bit, but there it is. One thing I will notice, now it's in a pretty good pocket of no wind shear. And that's a good sign if you want this storm, right? It has a cyclonic flow. It's starting to gain outflow. So I do expect this to gradually strengthen, and where the low pressure is should be developing is somewhere around here. We do have good cyclonic flow on all quadrants pretty much. There is some wind shear in the path of this. If this does go a little bit more south, but this storm just can't just run into this. So it's not going, I don't think it's going to really go out. In my opinion, I don't think it's just going to miss the whole islands, even the Leeward Islands, and just go out. I think that table is kind of crossed off at this point, but there's never a never. All right. But going on forward, if we take a look at some of the models, I'm going to look at steering currents. Those are the main things I want to look at. Steering currents. Sure, the strength we can look at, but I'm really going to be looking on the steering flow. So this is the European model, the 18Z. I'm going to take this back. Let's see the whole run of today. 0Z to 18Z with the European model, all right? So when we look at this, there is Ernesto will develop. It's a little bit faster version, but it does keep it a little bit weak and does make a landfall on the Leeward Islands. Continues to strengthen, maybe bring some waves to Bahamas most likely, but kind of misses, and then impacts Bermuda as a Cat 2, going to Category 3, and this does become a Category 3 here and then goes out to sea. Alright, so we looked at that 0Z. Now let's take a look at 6Z. That was, by the way, 6Z and 8Z only goes out 72 to 90 hours. And if we look at this one, it was a bit more further north. And if we continue, it will do the same thing again. We go to 12Z here. Sorry about the little off screen. This does make a landfall again a little bit more south. If we look at that, this is in 48 hours. Actually, it might be a lit. Oh, wait, no. Let me go to 6Z here. And it was a bit more further north. So from 6Z to 18Z, if now we look at the 18Z, there is a little trend. All right, now look. It now looks like it's going to make a landfall in Puerto Rico. Why are we seeing that little trend? And I like to take a look at little trends because that can always happen. We take a look at the little trends because let's go back the run. All right, let's go from this run, 18Z, to 12Z. Look at the high pressure. It's kind of hard to see. I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to use it on there. But the reason is because the high pressure is ending up in each run a little bit more further south and stronger. So it's going to try and keep it more south. My question is, could the storm miss this whole cold front? At this point, I don't think so. But could I see this trough weaken and have a little bit more struggle bringing this north? I think that's possible. If the storm stays a little bit more weaker, I think it could stay in the Caribbean longer. I think the Bahamas are not even out of the realm of possibility. But I'm just watching with the European. I'm noticing from 6Z this morning to the latest run, we are seeing that a little bit nudge. But this is 12Z. Takes that all the way up. What happens here is then we get another cold front. All right, we get another front out in the United States, and we get a weak high pressure here. So what does high pressure do? Kind of bring that up like that. This high pressure is a little far, and we're going to have to watch that. Kind of could weaken it. But right now it looks like this could really just head straight north and then go out. We're going to just have to watch it all. I don't think this is going to impact the United States. I don't see it. But could we see a trend further west? Easily. So, now done speaking on the Canadian model, because we do have quite a few models to look at for the Leeward Islands, is the GFS. This one, look, this 18Z, if we look at the last, yeah, boom, perfect. From 6Z2, this is 6Z. Watch this, 12Z, a little bit more further south, 18Z, way more south. So, from 6Z this morning to now, there has been a noticeable southwestern shift with this storm. Why do I think that is? Number one, maybe a little bit weaker than originally thought, so it doesn't get grabbed as quick. And maybe it's not moving as north as they thought. And as this is developing into a tropical storm, we're going to continue to see progress. And when tomorrow, then hurricane hunters go, we're going to have even more information. But this actually goes the further south, becomes a tropical storm, makes a southeastern or southwestern landfall in Puerto Rico, maybe scraping it, and then kind of moves a little bit more west, and then gets pulled from this trough and cold front. High pressure is not too far there. There's another high pressure there. So it just makes sense for this to go out. And it kind of does that. It does become a very strong Category 3 hurricane. Gets a little bit pushed back to the northeast, but then there's another cold front. So it doesn't look likely at this point. But I will say, from last few runs to now, a little bit more closer. All right. That's the latest thinking on the GFS and European. Now let's take a little look at the Canadian. And Canadian, people don't really use. But let's just look. Alright. We look at 0Z to 12Z. We did notice today the Canadian had a huge shift to the south. So I'm starting to lock in. And it does make like a clip landfall in Puerto Rico. We don't care about the strength right now. We're trying to find where is this going to make landfall? Where is this going to impact? We're going to worry about strength. We do need to worry about strength. But we need to worry about, first, where is this damn thing going to go? What I can say right now, prepare for heavy rain, mudslides, power outages, tropical storm conditions. Could this rapidly strain into a hurricane before Puerto Rico? Not out of the realm of possibility. But the Canadian, a bit more west and a bit more towards the northeast. I will say, much more closer than previous run. That goes through and actually hits Nova Scotia. So I am watching that. And I will say, Canadian does put out another tropical wave here and then one coming off here. So what I said before, maybe not showing as much as the models wanted to before, but there's still signs that probably after this storm, we're going to see another tropical storm. Canadian Icon has done a pretty decent job with this year's hurricane season. We take a look at that. And Icon 18Z, I will say, let's go back to 6Z. Alright. Let's just look at the runs. Alright. 1, 2, 3. And yeah, 4. This is actually in the 18Z. What does the icon show? Look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you guys see what I see? A noticeable change to the southwest. Alright. So, if you guys are in Puerto Rico and start seeing the National Hurricane Center, still has you in the cone stuff. And by the way, wherever the National Hurricane Center has this making landfall, this could change. Anywhere in the cone. I would say anywhere in the cone is still in the realm of possibility. And why I say that is because it has trended that way. Right? And one thing I noticed is maybe the trough is not as strong as we thought. But we're going to know more. But this icon model actually moves a bit more west than what we want. And it does bring tropical storm impacts into the far out Bahamas. And then this will push north as of 18Z. But one thing is a little interesting. I will say, this moves north. We got the trough here, trying to push this out. And then we got a high pressure right here. Maybe going to be a little too strong, but then we got another high pressure over here. So that's why maybe this storm slows down a bit. But we're going to have to really watch when we get up to these areas. Because the patterns, the troughs, always changes. I'll give you guys that. Alright. But that's the latest thinking on global models. Alright. We take a look now at a hurricane model. And I know this video is going to be a bit longer than I want it to. But I'm really looking at steering currents. Alright. Because that's going to be everybody's big question. And the HRF model does have it making landfall in the islands and scraping Puerto Rico and does become a Category 1 hurricane. Pretty large storm. This will move north, rapidly strengthen into a Category 4 hurricane. Looks like multiple eyewall replacements. But let's take a look here. HRF parent. This is a further out view of the 18Z. There it is. What I'm seeing, Bermuda, you guys are definitely in the possibility. Alright? You guys definitely have a possibility. But either way, this looks like a long-producing major hurricane event for the fishes. Alright? So, big-time ace points out of this. This reminds me of Lee. I won't lie. It really kind of does. But we're going to have to just watch and see. We take a look at Hammond, and I will say Lee was a lot more north. So, I don't know. But, we take a look. At this. Kind of keeps it weak. Misses Puerto Rico. And then moves north. And it kind of just right here. There's Bermuda, actually. Bermuda's right here in the picture. This is probably a Cat 2 hurricane. Alright. Halves. I mean, the hurricane models are going to become better and better. That's kind of hard to predict. But we're going to have to see. One more thing with the models. I would like to take a look at the ensembles. Why do I like to? Because look. The cone is still uncertain. I do think this is probably going to shift southwest. And I think this here, I think everything's going to shift a little bit more west and southwest. And I think we can see, maybe instead of here, we can kind of see a more of something like this. A bit more west than what we wanted. But we're going to have to see. Because the further south it goes, further west it goes. And let's say if this actually gets even more deeper, and it actually heads more deeper southwest, and it keeps going, then there's a possibility that this kind of misses the trough. Very, very unlikely. Take my words with a grain of salt. But anything can happen. But one thing we notice is a lot of purple. That is major hurricane. Cat 3, Cat 4, even probably some trying to show a Cat 5. Alright. I'm not saying this is going to be Cat 5 at all. I don't think it will be. But you never know. The ceilings are high. We look at the GEFS, and GEFS kind of pictures mine. Most consent into Puerto Rico, definitely. But I wouldn't be surprised if the GFS shifts a bit more south. Why do I think that? Let's take a look. Look at the 12Z. And look at the 18. Actually, let's take a look at the 6Z, too. Let's just see the ensembles. And, okay. 6Z kind of forced with the 18Z. But 12Z and 18Z had a little bit more southwest shift. And I'm noticing it on all the models. So we're going to have to really watch this. We're going to have to watch National Hurricane Center. We're going to have to watch it all. Because anything happened. But before we go, I'm going to like to take a look at the satellite imagery. And then you guys are on your way. I will have another update tomorrow. Alright. So let's get into satellite mode here. Let's go zoomed out. Kind of feel like to look at the environment and stuff around it. Alright. And there it is. We're going to have to watch this. True color does show this storm. And I will admit, what I'm kind of seeing right now, it's kind of going more west